We can start with this Instagram post picture that I'll send to everyone. Basically, a list of the least attractive hobbies for men according to women. So, Steph, I sent it to you. Did I send it? Did you see it?
No.
Let me send it to you real quick, just so you can get a live reaction to the silliness. Uh, Hold on. There we go. Obviously, John, you saw it. So I got it up right now. So, Rel, you should be receiving the link as I kind of read these things off. But we got, I mean, number one on the list is there's an unattractive score to it. So we'll start from the least, I guess. So 50 points is bird watching. I don't know what man does bird watching
Kind
these
of birds we
days.
talking?
I mean, that's how you find the girls. You got to watch the bird, you know what I'm saying? But number two with 55 points is comic book collecting. I think those chicks are just hating because comic book movies is the number one movies right now. Like, it's called research, man. It's called research. Uh, number three is taxidermy.
Taxidermy.
60 points. What's taxidermy again?
That's
when you stuff stuff.
Animals. You stuff
Stuffed
animals.
heads.
Yeah.
One, is that a hobby? That's a job.
I mean, it is. It is.
No, yeah, for people who
collect
like
that.
to
You know,
hunt.
people collect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm mad that's not higher on the list though compared to other
You feel
shit.
me? Next one on the list is gambling.
Now you skip building model train.
Oh, I'm sorry, building model trains.
Yeah.
That one's the point.
That is, you're right, and that was relaxing. That's calming. It's, you know what I'm saying. You know, I don't know. The next one on the list is gambling. Depends on how far. Are they losing rent money on it? Are you know what I'm saying? Like, Ma, you're not complaining when I make that money. You know what I'm saying? When this parlay hit,
It's wild to me.
You going shopping.
It's even wild that gamblers on the list. To me.
Yeah, and then online trolling. I think that's unattractive from all men and women.
I think that's whack in general.
Yeah. Magic tricks is next on the list.
Magic tricks is tough, bro.
You want me to put these roses out my sleeve real quick?
That one got 80 points.
No.
The next one is collecting figurines. I mean, if it's them Pops figures, them joints is worth money. You know, you get some antiques, some collectibles. We saving for the fun, you know, for the kids and things. And number one on the list is playing video games. So
over taxidermy, bro.
So Steph, as the only female here right now, the only woman on the call right now, please talk to me. How do you feel about this list in general? Like, talk to me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, as far as like, first of all, there's so many other hobbies out there that I feel are more common for, like, I guess where I live or where you guys live, that's not on there. But there's, of course, like, people, you know, it sounds like a ridiculous concept, but like, there's hobbies that you are attracted to. Like, if a girl is like this or if she doesn't like to do that. Video games are by far, like, when I first heard the question, by far the first thing I would say is video games are unattractive. To John, I think that John's point earlier, like talking about like the masculinity and stuff, I could see girls thinking taxidermy is kind of hot because it's like very masculine. It's like a man that like.
Did you watch them kill them animal?
If you're raised in the woods, I could see it like that. Remember, I'm in Florida, so people do hunt out here. It's not my thing, but I'm sure there's a school of women that are into that. And then what was the other thing? Collecting. I think collecting's pretty cool, regardless of what you collect. I think when you collect things, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be interested into stuff like that. Like Danny has a bunch of Yankee stuff, like what are they called? The Fantastic Four? The Core Four. There you go. Hey, guys.
Okay.
The Core Four. So like those back in the day Yankees, like I get him a lot of stuff like that. He likes that stuff. I think that stuff is pretty interesting. But yeah, video games is I just wouldn't generally like that personality and my personality. I've never dated a guy that was into video games, and I know people that are, and it generally kind of, I could see their girlfriends dealing with issues about it and stuff, so I could see it being really annoying.
I think women hate video games because it takes the attention away from them.
And not into my opinion, and anybody could dispute this, but like that's like scrolling through TikTok. Like if your girl was always on like Instagram. It's kind of mindless or kind of like a getaway, but just like anything, like for instance, gambling. I would never, ever want to date somebody that has an issue gambling because you could see how it easily turns into an issue. The more money you make, the worse it is. Like I've been to a casino like twice. And even me, like I'm winning and I'm getting this rush and then I lose and I feel like I have to win the money back. It's a lot of up and down and mental gymnastics.
That's why I said it's weird that that's even on the list because it's like
for someone to indulge in, generally speaking, it's not something I'm gonna want in somebody.
I mean, the way I look at it though, they said hobbies. Like they're not saying someone who's stuck like you know, you hear them dudes who like play Call of Duty for 10 hours at a time and like they said hobbies. So like when I look at it, like yo, like damn, dudes can't even have a hobby. Like you can't collect comic books, you can't collect figures, you can't have a. I'm not saying for you, Steph, because obviously you said you don't mind collecting, but in general, like yo, like guys don't have much. Like to me, like going to the gym, boxing, MMA, like those are a fitness thing you do for your health, but they're not always a hobby. Like they're something you do for your health. I mean, they're saying you're putting like some females do yoga. They do that, like you have your own things you do. But when it comes to a hobby, men don't have a lot. So like going to play ball with the guys, playing video games, collecting stuff, like you know, going to live sport events. Like we only have certain things that are part of our hobby. So to see that, I was like, damn, like, and then to see that how that taxidermist and bird watching, we're down here. But if a dude play video games or collects figures or comic books, he's up here. Like that's crazy.
Gotta play a game about taxidermy.
Yo, the dude playing the video games and collecting comic books is probably less likely to be in your friend's DMs. Like he's probably doing his own thing, just chilling.
He's home.
Unless he has collectibles, he probably makes good money.
He's not out in these streets. He's home.
He's not out in these streets.
In the living room. He's right there. You know what I'm saying? So that at least you know where your man is at.
You know where he at all the time.
What I noticed about the list though, like it's like with video games, to John's point, like you could get hooked into it. Video games do become addictive and do become an issue for more people than not. Like, yo, it's cool. Like Danny has one of these gaming systems that he'll come and play like NBA, one of them NBA games. But then there's these dudes that are like violently playing Call of Duty with their headsets and have like whole ass kids, you know, and they're screaming like, I'm gonna fuck your fucking mother. And then, you know, in their headphones.
I don't say that, but you know, I don't do that. But
yo, Robbie talking to you, he'd be like, really, motherfucker?
Sometimes you gotta,
no, it gets wild on the
absolutely.
It gets wild.
To quote Kendrick Lamar, sometimes you got to pop out and show niggas.
Right?
So, I mean, you know.
No, but I agree. Like, but again, I'm talking about like hobby. To me, hobby means you do it in moderation. Like, it's not it's not an addiction. So, that's like to me, it's like, you know, as you pointed out, Steph. Like, I mean, there's man girls I know that they're on Instagram all day, TikTok all day. Like, you spend 10 hours scrolling through TikTok, but I spent 4 hours playing a video game, and I'm the bad guy. It's like, and again, I'm not talking about you, Steph. I'm talking in general.
Oh no,
you know,
absolutely.
The way they look at things, because I hear like, because even myself, I used to be a big gamer, but I barely play games anymore. I mean, Paul and Otto, I both shit on me because I still haven't beat Red Dead Redemption 2, and that's like 10 years ago that game came out. Because I don't play them anymore. Like I don't really have the time. But to see, I have a lot of friends play video games, and they're good dudes. To hear that they'd be eliminated off a list because they play video games is like what do you want these men to do to kill their time to get that anger, that violence out, or the peacefulness, or whatever you want? Like it's that time so they could draw their attention to something that's not the real world.
You see,
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, for me, like this would be a difficult topic in general for me because I feel like everybody's life and who they are has balances. This might get a little deeper. So like everything that you enjoy, things that you do, all contribute to your life balance, your energy. So I feel like I would never judge male or female, nobody's hobby, unless it was destructive to them or destructive to their family or whatever the case may be. If you find balance and peace doing that, then do it. Whatever it is. I don't gotta like it because it's your hobby. Like it doesn't matter how I feel. And I don't care what women how they feel about any hobby I have. Like I don't care. You like it and love it. I care zero because it's my hobby and it's something I do to keep myself up. If keep myself at a certain level, I'm sure I could find stuff that you do, not you, Steph. I'm telling you, a woman that I don't resonate with, and I'm like, you're wasting your time, whatever. But I don't have to understand it because it's not my hobby, and I won't form an opinion about it. I would not disqualify anyone. I'm not looking at like, you know, now did this. She said, but what I like to do when I'm bored is sniff coke and, you know, and shoot lines. You know, I mean, okay, that might be a
Sounds like
hobby.
my Saturday.
I might be a hobby I might want to stray away from, but like for anybody to judge me or anything that I like to do for me, to me is wild. So like, you know, if you're gonna take me off a list because I do that, you're doing me the favor, because if that's the way, if that's your wavelength for doing that, then take me off, please. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like how I kind of look at that. Like everybody has their thing. If it's not taking you off your focus to better yourself or affecting your family, okay, so then to me nothing's out of bounds. That's why like gambling to me is not a hobby. If you're a good gambler, it can't be a hobby because it takes too much focus, too much time.
Yeah.
Too much, you know what I'm saying? It can't be a hobby. That's something that you do. Like gambling is you know what I'm saying? So that's why I thought that was kind of weird to even be on the list. But I feel like everything's cool if it's not hurtful. You know, we're not all like Paul may have a hobby that I'm like, well, nah, I ain't doing that. You know, but I'm not gonna say I think Paul is corny because he likes to do that. You know, like nah, like it's just not me. You know what I'm saying?
I think that there's a person out there for everybody. I don't think any of it is like disqualifying somebody, because I'm not somebody's dream girl, but I am, you know, somebody's dream girl at the same time. He's really into sports. I'm like a hippie little writer that like loves God and you know, he loves sports and he's a hard worker, and I'm like a little dreamer, and like it melds well together. You know what I mean? Like he's like such a sturdy to me. That's what I'm into. I like masculine, like really masculine men. You know what I mean? So my man's not gonna really sit playing video game. You know, like you said, it's to anybody's judgment. I live in Florida. There are people, you know, that might be into taxidermy because they want to see what this man picked up because their daddy used to hunt. You know, it's all like there's somebody for everybody. Like when I moved out here, and I talk about this a lot, it's a little rearing off the subject, but it goes to the point. Like when I first moved out here, I hated Florida so much. And I just couldn't understand. I thought everything should have been like New York, trains everywhere and everything. So when I was a senior in high school, I went to a party, right? And I went in some fresh Jordans. And I got my Jordans dirty because it was in a field and there were like longhorns there, a bonfire and everything. Yo, I look back on that and I wish I would have indulged in that moment a little bit more, but that was not the way I grew up. I was a city girl, you know what I mean? Like I was from the city. So, and then like I was like, all these girls, and then you hear these like Luke Bryan country songs and stuff like that, where it's like the girl hanging out on their first kiss in the pickup truck, and that's like a completely different reality than I would ever experience. But it's a cool reality for somebody. The girl that's scrolling Instagram and likes to create content might not mind her man being with the game for 2.5 hours. That's his hobby. I like watching my man play soccer, play baseball. We go on kickball leagues together. So it's like whatever works for you. There's somebody for everybody. But in no way do I think, like Jarrell said, should a hobby ever be like disqualifying for anybody? Like nobody should feel like shit because of a hobby they have, unless, like he said, you're like shooting heroin or something, you know.
And I think the biggest thing I would ask to the people that made the list, or you know, to the women that you know that agree with a lot of those things, like what's the correlation? You know, you're against this because why? What does it mean?
Well, you know, it's funny. I've heard the video game thing lots of times, and every time I've asked what's the correlation, there's always a narrative built. So it's like, why don't you want a man who has a hobby of playing video games? Instead of their reasoning will be making a story like, well, because then when I be cooking the food, he's on the game for 19 hours. You just made all that up. We didn't say that somebody does that. Why we're saying the act of playing video games, why is that bad? Now, some of them might have had prior experiences where there was somebody who did have that take up too much of their time, where they was neglecting their job or neglecting them, whatever the case may be. But you know, in our past experiences can leave, you know, bad taste in our mouths about certain things. But from what I understand, from what I was conversations I had, it wasn't necessarily where they went through that. They just have this stigma in this picture that they don't really understand because they don't indulge. So they're building this off of what they hear and what's happening to other people and using that to form their bias against it. That's what's been my experience every time I've asked type of question about.
Right, and as I said, that's a conversation that I definitely would be willing to have. Like, you know, we can get more women to comment and share their thoughts on it, and you know, we got Steph's perspective on it. But again, like Steph said, it's not as major as a killer. You know, she's more
Not
into
like a deal breaker,
yeah, it's not the deal breaker, but apparently for some, a lot of those things are. You know, and I would just like to break down each one and see like what's the correlation, what does that mean, you know, because this and like John said, if it's a hobby, a lot of times it's that me time,
right?
you know, it's that time where you're not there or you're doing something. Why can't he do something? Why does that become unattractive that he's doing this?
Because you don't align with it, or that's not your thing, or what you
but it's his time. He's
Right,
getting
yeah.
you're doing what you're doing. He's having his moment, and he wants to do what have you. He wants to gamble. He wants to play a video game. He wants to stuff an animal, do a magic trick.
Right.
Abracadabra, ho.
Magic trick. That is the magic trick. I agree with.
That's unattractive.
Yo, if he takes a fucking quarter from behind my ear on a date, that's wild.
You're not impressed?
Oh,
Abracadabra, ho.
But no, I feel like
You said if your man
I'm a-
pulled out roses real quick out the sleeve,
No,
maybe some roses.
I
You
feel
would be
like
oh my
if
God,
I'm gonna do
roses.
that, if I'm gonna do a magic for him, it's gonna be something that's gonna blow her mind. Ain't gonna be
Yo,
no
seriously.
corner behind her ear. It's gonna be like something wild. Like she's gonna be like, "What the like?"
If I pull some flowers out the back of your head, a bouquet.
And you know what's crazy?
For the lady.
You know what's crazy is Danny likes magic, and he has like an uncle that used to be like a magician.
See?
Okay.
If he
We're
removed,
15 years together, we'll still crack on him if it comes up. So
I'm saying if you and Danny are out and it's cold and he pulls out a bunch of scarves.
I'd be like, yo, where you got that shit from?
magic.
Why are you doing that?
He would be amazed.
He's going
No,
out
I'd
with
be
his
like,
scarf.
They come
cut
equipped.
that out and put your arm around me.
Danny's gonna do a magic trick to remove your drawers. You didn't realize he did
Look,
that.
boom, pow.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Big Arms over here, just coming in like that. What the hell?
Magic. Now again, yeah, if it's on the first date or he does that, yeah. But again, if we're talking hobbies, back to John's point, if it's a hobby, that's something on the side. That's something. Again, it's a little weird that that's your hobby. But hey, to each their own. You want to become a magician? You rock with David Blaine and Chris Angel and them. And
Yeah, like if you did David Blaine level magic, like
yeah, David Blaine, that's
like,
hot,
I mean, like,
yeah.
that hobby becomes
so
your
hold on.
career.
The level of the magic depends now on the. Come on.
Like if you're willing to stay in an ice sculpture and manage to regulate your body temperature for 36 hours, that's mind fuckery. That's not magic.
You're asking for a lot for a first date.
right?
I'm gonna put these rings together, and that's gonna be it.
You're like,
Have you ever been on a date and you asked the guy, you're like, what do you do for fun? What do you, and he said, oh, magic? Has he said magic tricks? Have you ever heard that? Like, I don't think any man is bringing that up on it. Oh, I do, in my spare time, I do magic.
But I forgot why. But there could be dudes who that is hobby. Why do you think they don't say that? Because it's gonna come out eventually. Why do you think they don't answer that question?
Because I don't think it's a hobby. Now he might do it for he might be a magician. He do parties and things, so there might be more to it. Like
that's not a hobby.
It's a side job. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I do kids parties. And I make the balloons and I do magic. Like that could be a side hustle more than a hobby. That's what I'm saying. I think John said, like the definition, like what do they consider a hobby? What do they consider because some of these things are more than a hobby. They could be something lucrative. You know what I'm saying? Kids is playing.
Can be very
like they got
making
and stuff and them figurines. You can make some money out of that. Now, online trolling, there's no profit in that at all.
That's crazy.
That's not a hobby. You are a loser. Online trolling.
That's the basis of your content. Maybe it is.
Yeah, online trolling should be number one. You are a loser if that's your hobby. Oh, I just troll online. Get a life, buddy.
I just told a 13-year-old he's XYZ. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah. Building model trains. Jared, we got you here for this one. Jared, you got a model train and your kid, not to put you on the spot. I don't laugh. Model trains got 65 points for least attractive hobby for men according to women. Talk to me, Jared.
I don't care about them hoes. I don't care about them hoes. They don't pay my bills. They don't pay my bills.
Do you tell women that that's a hobby of yours, or?
Nah, it's just one of those things you happen to see it in my house. You see it in my house, but it's not like because there's one thing like there's a difference and there's levels to hobbies and stuff like
Right.
that. So it's not like I'm going to be that person who has my model train and put my little Lionel freight train hat on and get in gear and start running my trains and have a create a whole scenario.
Choo choo.
I'm not doing all that. Like,
Tell me you don't got the whole conductor suit at home?
okay, that was my job. Doesn't mean I don't do. I don't do that. It's my job. It doesn't mean I put my gear on to do that. Right? You know.
You gotta play
But
dress up sometimes.
hey, sometimes you gotta get role play, but that's not the case. But nah, like I don't do that. And I mean, like that's one thing. That's what you do, and that's what that's what you do. But like I have a bunch of model trains that like online now stuff from the 80s. I have Legos. That's another one of my hobbies, And I'm pretty sure somebody will have a shit for them about, oh, you play with Legos or you build Legos. It's like, yeah, bitch, I do.
Lucky for you, it's not on the list, so you might be good with that. Chicks dig the Legos. Chicks dig the Legos.
Legos take time and dedication.
But that brings up a good point. Like, I don't think there's any issue with train building because I feel like it takes like intelligence and it takes patience and
so do video games.
Yeah, so do video games.
Video games takes a lot of patience and all of that. Like,
nah, that's a lot of dopamine. I think the dopamine response that you're getting out of these hobbies say a lot about the hobbies. Gambling, high in dopamine.
Video games gave me hand-eye coordination, deductive reasoning,
when Jared's done building his Lego set, his dopamine's pretty high.
So here's but it takes, but the release is not as high because he's going for it for such a long time. So that's when you get into like sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Your dopamine, because when you reach the game and you're going for it, like you're releasing dopamine that whole time, and that's why video gaming becomes addicting. But to shift
depending
gears,
on what games you play.
But to shift gears, some hot hobbies like. Because the train building thing, I never met nobody in that like that before. But I guess that's like a pretty cool hobby when we talk about it. Men that learn about weapons for some reason, like men that like learn about.
You got Jared's attention. Jared, you attractive. You 2 for 2 so far. You got the trains and weapons.
No, that's my friend. But like, and look at. What's up, Jared? How you doing? Look at him. So, no, but like guns, like guys that are into guns. I'm in Florida, so that goes back into that. Like, that's not no political thing, but I like a man that wants to like protect and wants that control. And yeah, everybody can say, "Oh, wait, what if you want?" You know what I'm talking about. There's a demographic of men that are armed and they're proud to be armed, and they.
I learned how to shoot playing Duck Hunt on Nintendo.
They continue to further their skills and they educate. That's like a really productive, awesome hobby for men. Another thing is people that indulge in the arts. Like any man that's like a dancer, writer, musician, anything like that, and then athletics. But what do you guys think are some deal breakers for women?
I don't have women deal breaker hobbies. Like, I mean, there's definitely some hobbies that like I would be more interested in like learning about, because that's what me when I'm connecting with somebody, I want to know their hobbies because like they're probably gonna have stuff that I don't know anything about, and then I can learn from you. Then you know what I'm saying. So I might there could be something like, well, I like to watch. Let's say I like to watch reality TV all the time. I think that's kind of like that's not my thing. But then I don't know what type of shows you mean. So like you could be watching something, I could be watching stuff with you and learning. You could tell me that you like to knit, and I'm like, oh, what are you, 75? But then you might show me something about knitting that I didn't know, and I'm like, wow, so now I'm gaining knowledge. If I just was cut off from the nah, there's nothing that you can get out of netting, or there's nothing, and I might even have no openness to it, then because like a lot of things that you saying you like, that was cool that you like that, but that was definitely just personal about those type of things. The things you name, I'm sure there's a lot of women like that also like those things. But
yeah, I think it's a big majority. That's why I added like, and then that's if you like masculine men. I also put in the art thing.
But I mean, I know masculine men who they'll come home from work and they shoot niggas all night on Call of Duty, and they know about guns because you learned about guns playing Call of Duty. You might not own any of these guns, but you could go to. But people that know guns, they can go to a trade show and start talking about it. People think, well, how many guns you have? None. I got them all on Call of Duty, but yet I spilled all the same fucking knowledge you did a second ago, though.
But then no real shit, then you're not the real thing. When it comes to Call of Duty knowledge,
he didn't go there and say, "Hey,
well,
look."
hold on.
He didn't say he was.
So hold on. I disagree with this because personally, so for our sharpshooting, when we get tested, I got 97 out of 100 using the scope and using the iron sights on my gun, and I learned how to shoot from Call of Duty. I beat all these white boys and rednecks that go hunting. I beat all of them when I got trained for. I get qualified every year, and I beat all those white boys that go hunting. So I learned that from Call of Duty.
It's hard to say what people can get from anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to say what it takes to do anything. Like, you look at certain things, you say it takes intelligence or whatever the case may be, and then in your mind, you don't extend that to video games. But they're, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you play them, but there are very complex games that if you don't have intelligence, you are not playing them. Like, or you're going to sit there like a dummy in front of the game. Like, to sell any of these things short without having that knowledge that handed, like it's you could do that with anything, and that's why I don't do that. When a woman tells me their hobby and it's something that I don't like, I don't sell it short because unless I know it, if I do it too, I watch my sister do it in her life, then I'll have that knowledge to be like, no, that shit is like, why are you wasting your time, whatever. But if I don't know what that's like, I can't discount it, and I like this, and it's something you get something out of it. You know what I'm saying? And I want to explore that.
I mean, I look at it like, so for me personally, cause I dabble in all of it. I collect figures, I collect Funko Pops, I collect comic books, I collect guns, I work on my car. Like, a lot of women find working on your car being with your hands manly. I work on my car. I'm building a classic car right now. But I was surprised that you said masculine things like art, because I paint and I do poetry and I do music, but those aren't usually looked at as masculine things. Painting and poetry aren't.
When I said that, I was excluding the artist portion because I did realize when I generally said a lot of them were masculine, but the artists also because of the intelligence and the emotional depth, like painting. Painting's awesome. Like, and I'm blown away by people that know how to paint, bro. Like, and that's just, but like I said earlier, that's just me. But yeah, that one was the one thing that wasn't as masculine, but it's because it's so creative and expansive. I like that, so that's why I mentioned
speaking from experience though, I could break apart my AR-15, put it back together, no problem. And I'm more proud of putting together my Lego sets than I am of putting it back, breaking my gun apart. So it all depends on the person and what they're into. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could have an intruder come in and like look at all my toys. Meanwhile, I got them in my sights with no problem. So it really depends on where you're raised and what you're into. But to answer your question, I kind of agree with Jarrell overall. I don't think there is really a trait in a female that I would find a hobby like, oh, that's boring. The only thing that I kind of get disengaged from is when they're constantly stuck on social media, where they can't live without social media. Like, anyone who knows me knows that I'll have an Instagram up for like 3 months, and then I'll get rid of my Instagram for a year, and then I'll get back on for 3 months, and then I'll get, like, I don't need to have it. When you need to have it and you need to send things every day and post every day and be on every day, like, you need to have it, that's kind of unattractive in my opinion. But
yeah, sorry, good job. Go ahead.
So let's leave it there for now. Ladies that are listening and watching, please let us know how you feel about these. Are these deal breakers? Do you date a guy that does any of these things? Do you how do you feel about it? You agree, disagree?
Give Magic a chance.
Because you never know. You might be missing out on somebody that, play some video games. These e-gamers is really up here. You know what I'm saying? Like, these dudes is making some money. They're considered athletes. But let's move on to the next topic.